The power of distance and silence is often underestimated in relationships, but it's one of the most effective ways to communicate your value. When you step back and choose silence, you send a clear, unspoken message about who you are and what you're willing to tolerate. It's a powerful demonstration of self-respect and maturity because it shows you're not available for disrespect or mistreatment. You're not lowering yourself to beg for someone's attention or argue for your worth. Instead, you're creating space that tells others, I value myself enough to choose silence rather than engage in a situation that isn't serving me. Now, this isn't about using silence as a punishment or manipulation. It's not about playing games to make the other person feel bad. It's about the way silence and distance create the opportunity for others to truly see you. Think about it. When you're always accessible, always explaining, always trying to fix or address issues, there's no room for the other person to miss you, to feel your absence, or to realize the weight of your presence. Silence allows for that realization. By stepping back, you allow others to see what it's like without you there. And often, it's that absence, that quiet distance, that makes people realize your value in a way that words and arguments never could. This step back doesn't only affect others, it changes something within you as well. Silence gives you the time to reclaim your own sense of peace, to center yourself, and to remember that you don't need to engage in every battle or be present in every moment for someone else's validation. It's a way of saying, I am here for myself. I'm not here to constantly fight for a place in someone else's life in a world that pressures us to be available, connected, and responsive all the time. Silence becomes a revolutionary act of self-love and confidence. It's not about withdrawal, but about realigning with yourself, protecting your energy, and setting standards for how others are allowed to engage with you. So when you choose to step back and stay silent, you're not just reacting to a specific person or situation. You're making a powerful choice to hold on to your self-worth, to create a boundary that respects who you are. This silence becomes a shield, protecting your peace and showing others that you won't engage in situations that diminish you. And this shift changes how people view you. Suddenly, they're aware of the gaps your absence creates, the things they used to take for granted that are no longer there. You're no longer an option they can ignore. You become someone they now realize has boundaries, self-respect, and an undeniable presence. And in that silence, that choice to step back, others often start to feel the pull to come closer. They begin to miss what they once overlooked. They start to wonder about the parts of you they took for granted. And this time, if they come back, it's not because you begged or explained, but because they saw you. They felt your absence and realized your value on their own terms. And that's the power of silence, letting your absence speak louder than any words ever could. When you choose to let go of the need to explain yourself or justify your actions, something incredible happens. You reclaim your power. So often we feel the urge to clarify, to make sure others understand our motives, our worth, and our reasons. We find ourselves explaining, justifying, even defending who we are and the choices we make. But in doing this, we place the value of others' opinions above our own sense of self. We hand over our power, hoping to gain acceptance, validation, or understanding from people who may never truly appreciate us. The truth is, you don't need to convince anyone of your value. Your actions, your silence, and your confidence in who you are will do all the explaining necessary. When you let go of that need to constantly clarify or over-explain, you are declaring that you are at peace with yourself. You are saying that you know who you are, and that's enough. This isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. When you stop explaining, you're not dismissing others or acting as if their opinions don't matter. Instead, you're choosing not to waste your energy trying to make everyone understand you. You recognize that those who truly know and value you won't need an explanation. They'll see your heart and understand your intentions without you having to spell it out. And here's where the shift happens. The moment you stop justifying yourself, people start seeing you in a different light. Your silence becomes a strength, a mystery, something that others are drawn to. You become someone who doesn't seek external approval to feel whole. And when you can stand firm in your truth, not needing to over-explain or apologize for who you are, people sense that confidence. They become curious. They want to know what gives you that calm assurance, that quiet strength. This kind of self-assured silence speaks volumes. It tells others that you have boundaries, that you won't bend to fit someone else's idea of you, and that you have respect for your own journey. When you let go of trying to make everyone understand you, you create space for those who truly align with you to come closer. And in that space, relationships that are authentic and respectful can grow. You're no longer held back by trying to convince those who will never see your value. Instead, you move forward, surrounded by people who appreciate you for exactly who you are. In the end, stepping back and staying silent is not about manipulating others to chase after you. It's about honoring yourself and allowing the right people, those who genuinely value you, to be the ones who come forward. And that's a freedom that only comes when you let go of the need to explain and simply allow yourself to be. Choosing to stay silent when others expect a reaction from you is one of the most powerful things you can do. When someone pushes your buttons, criticizes, or even belittles you, it's natural to feel that urge to respond, to defend, to set the record straight. But when you choose silence, you're making a conscious decision to rise above the need for validation. You're showing that your peace of mind is far more valuable than proving a point. Silence in these moments isn't a sign of weakness or defeat. In fact, it's a sign of self-control and inner strength. Think about this: when you stay silent, you're sending a clear message that you're not controlled by the opinions or judgments of others. You're allowing your energy to remain yours, rather than spending it on reactions that likely won't change a thing. People are often taken aback by silence. They expect you to engage and get heated to match their energy. But when you don't, they have to confront the impact of their own words or actions without your participation. This silence disrupts the cycle, putting the focus back on them rather than you. And in that quiet, you create space for them to reflect, to maybe even question their behavior. Silence also gives you time to think, to process what's been said, and to consider whether it even deserves a response. Many times you'll find that silence is the best response, especially when the words directed at you are meant to provoke. By holding back, you keep your composure, and in doing so, you maintain your dignity. This calm, grounded approach often leaves others wondering how they lost their power over you, because there's no greater power than a calm mind. When you choose silence, you're exercising discipline, and discipline is a powerful tool for personal growth. Instead of giving others the satisfaction of seeing you react, you reserve that energy for yourself. You can use it for things that genuinely matter to you, for people who respect you, and for goals that uplift you. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember that you have the option to stay in your calm, to stay in your peace. And here's the truth: eventually, when you don't give them the reaction they're seeking, they'll realize that they can't disrupt your inner world. They may feel regret, perhaps even the weight of what they've lost by not having your attention or respect. In the end, your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. So let your silence be your strength, and your dignity be the response that leaves a lasting impact. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to create distance, not just physically, but emotionally. When you pull back, when you stop offering your energy freely to those who value it, you're not only preserving your well-being, you're also creating an environment where others are left to face themselves. Often we're so eager to explain ourselves, to be understood, to make sure everyone knows where we're coming from. But there's a powerful message in simply stepping away without a word. You're allowing the silence and the space to do the talking for you. Now, people might interpret this distance in different ways. Some might become defensive or even offended, but eventually they're forced to ask themselves why they're no longer in your world, why you're no longer engaging. This time apart gives them the chance to confront what you've known all along: that relationships built on respect and understanding don't need constant effort to be validated. When you take a step back, you're no longer pouring your energy into something that doesn't serve you. And it's in that space that people start to see the value you brought into their lives. Here's the thing: when someone realizes you've pulled away, they often go through stages. First, they might feel confusion, then maybe frustration or denial, but as time goes on, they reach a place of clarity. It's in this clarity that they might begin to understand what they've lost, to recognize the respect, the love, the understanding that you freely gave and that they didn't fully appreciate. This period of distance, this time apart, lets them feel the absence of what they may have taken for granted. Sometimes it's the absence of your presence that speaks louder than any words you could have said. Without your constant reassurance or attempts to make things work, they're left to consider the relationship from a different perspective. They might remember moments when they could have been kinder or when they could have valued your loyalty and kindness more deeply. This distance, this silence, it isn't about punishing them or seeking revenge. It's about creating space for growth for both of you. In the end, stepping back is a way of prioritizing yourself, of saying that your peace, your happiness, your dignity matter more than chasing after validation or acceptance. And the most powerful part of it, if they truly value you, if they come to realize the significance of the relationship, they'll make the effort to bridge the gap. And if not, then you know your decision to step back was the right one all along. When you decide to stay silent, you're practicing one of the greatest acts of self-control and resilience. Silence isn't passive, it's active, deliberate. By choosing not to respond, by choosing to hold back your words, you're showing that you're above the immediate need to react to what's thrown your way. This is powerful because it signals that you aren't looking for validation or explanation. You're communicating that your worth isn't defined by someone else's opinion or behavior. Silence allows you to take back your power by not giving it away to those who may not value or respect it. You're telling the world and yourself that your peace is worth more than any temporary satisfaction of responding in the moment. In a culture that often prizes loudness and immediate reaction, the discipline of silence becomes a rare and powerful thing. It's tempting to want to respond to every slight, to explain yourself, to defend your actions, but there's a distinct strength in choosing to hold back. It allows others to realize that you're not someone who can be easily manipulated, swayed, or drawn into unnecessary drama. Silence shows you're secure in yourself and don't need the last word to feel validated or strong. When you stay silent, you also give the other person space to reflect. Without your input, they're left with only their actions and behavior to evaluate. They don't have your reactions to deflect onto or arguments to counter. Instead, they're faced with the impact of their own actions. It creates a mirror effect where they're forced to look at themselves instead of getting caught up in any exchange with you. And sometimes this reflection can lead them to a place of self-realization and growth. What's more, silence gives you time to grow. In the quiet moments, you have space to understand your own values, your needs, and your boundaries more deeply. You can think clearly without the noise of someone else's words cluttering your mind. This space helps you to see what truly matters to you and allows you to detach from the things that no longer serve your growth or happiness. Silence then becomes a sanctuary where you're able to build yourself up stronger, more resilient than before. And if they come back seeking the relationship again, they'll be met with a person who has grown, who understands their own worth. And if they don't return, then you've won, and another way you've created a life where you're surrounded only by those who truly appreciate and respect the value you bring. So let your silence speak for you and allow that space to reflect your growth and inner strength. When you choose to step back and stay silent, you're doing something remarkable. You're placing value on your peace, your mental health, and your self-worth. In every interaction, there's an energy exchange, and by stepping back, you're telling yourself that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion needs your response. This isn't avoidance, it's wisdom. You're learning to conserve your energy for moments, people, and situations that genuinely uplift and support your growth. Staying silent doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're strong enough to resist the urge to defend, explain, or defy yourself when it's unnecessary. Think about what happens when you stop engaging with those who bring negativity or disrespect into your life. They lose access to your energy, your presence, and your insights. By removing yourself from the dynamics of back and forth arguments or proving your worth to those who may not see it, you're silently commanding respect. People begin to notice that you don't bend to every opinion or reaction that comes your way. You start to radiate a quiet power that speaks louder than words ever could. Silence allows people to experience the void of your absence. They may begin to understand what your presence meant, what your energy brought to their lives. Often, it's only in silence that they realize the comfort support, and encouragement you offered freely. They begin to understand what life feels like without your influence, and sometimes that's when true regret sets in. They recognize that your value was not in your words or in your efforts to make them see you, but in the space you held for them. This silence creates a powerful impact, more so than any argument, explanation, or defense could. It signals to others that your time and peace are precious, and you won't allow anyone to disrupt that. By simply choosing to stay silent and stepping back, you inspire others to take a deeper look at their own actions. This space often causes people to question themselves more than they would if they were met with resistance. And as they reflect on the empty space you've left, they may come to realize that it wasn't you who needed to change, but them. So, in your silence, find your strength. In your distance, find clarity. Let your absence and quiet presence communicate what words never could. And as you continue on your journey, surrounded only by those who genuinely appreciate you, you'll see that the decision to step back was one of the best ways to reclaim your peace and power. When you mastered the art of stepping back and staying silent, you're allowing yourself to grow in ways you never could while constantly engaging with everyone around you. See, true self-growth often happens in solitude and silence, where you can hear your own voice, feel your own emotions, and understand your own needs without the noise of external influences. It's in this space of quiet reflection that you find out who you truly are and what truly matters to you. When you're constantly entangled in the expectations, dramas, and judgments of others, you end up being pulled away from yourself. Silence is a gift because it brings you back to you. Silence also sharpens your awareness. By choosing not to react, you gain a better perspective on people and situations around you. You can start seeing things as they are, not clouded by impulsive reactions or the need to defend yourself. Instead of trying to convince others of your worth, you allow them to reveal their true selves, their intentions, and their respect or lack thereof. You're no longer influenced by how others want you to feel. You start recognizing patterns, seeing who genuinely respects you and who only responds when they need something from you. This perspective frees you. You no longer feel the need to chase validation because you see clearly what's real and what's not. Furthermore, stepping back gives others the opportunity to step up. Sometimes people take for granted the things and people that are always readily available. When you step back, they have a choice. They can either step forward and meet you with the same respect and effort, or they can stay where they are, revealing that they may never have been willing to meet you halfway. This clarity can be painful, but it's powerful. You deserve relationships, friendships, and environments where your presence is valued and reciprocated. By staying silent, you build a new strength within yourself. You learn that you don't need others to validate your worth. Your silence becomes your power, showing that your self-respect is not tied to their opinions. It's a subtle yet impactful message that tells the world, I'm at peace with myself, with or without your approval. And when people realize they no longer have access to your energy without respect, they start to understand the privilege it was to be in your presence. Silence is your strength, distance is your armor, and self-respect is your shield. Embrace it, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply say nothing at all. When you decide to step back and stay silent, you're giving yourself one of the greatest gifts, freedom. Freedom from the constant need to explain yourself, to prove your worth, to keep fighting for people who don't value you. In that silence, you take back control over your life. You let go of the need for external validation, for their approval, for their understanding, and you shift your energy towards what truly matters. There's no more frustration of waiting for them to realize your worth, no more disappointment when they don't reciprocate, and no more exhaustion from overextending yourself. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace. And here's the powerful truth about silence and distance: it often stirs people to self-reflect. Sometimes, when you step away, it's the first time they truly start to see the impact you had. Suddenly, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. They begin to notice what's missing: the kindness, the support, the loyalty that was always there. In that space you create by pulling back, they may start to understand all the ways they've taken you for granted. It's a moment of clarity for them. And whether or not they come back to apologize or try to make amends, the most important thing is that you are at peace, no longer chained to their choices. Silence can also inspire curiosity. When you stop giving them the reactions they're used to, it disrupts their expectations. They'll wonder why you're so unbothered, so unfazed. That shift in you makes them realize that you're no longer relying on them for your happiness. Your silence and peace speak volumes. They're often louder and clearer than any argument or explanation. And in time, they may come to regret letting you go, realizing that the respect, love, and loyalty you offered were not things easily found elsewhere. Stepping back and staying silent doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're growing up. It means you're valuing yourself enough to no longer settle for less than what you deserve. It's a statement that says, I know my worth and I won't let anyone treat me as less than. And when they see you walking in that quiet confidence, that peace, that self-respect, they'll realize just how valuable you truly were. And that, my friend, is a powerful moment, a moment where you can stand tall, knowing you finally found freedom from the need for their approval because you've given yourself all the validation you ever needed. When you step back and give someone the space to miss you, it sends a message that you respect yourself enough not to chase or force connections. You're letting them see that you won't stick around to be undervalued or taken for granted. That distance, that silence, gives them time to reflect, to truly understand what it feels like to be without you. It's a wake-up call for them, a moment to recognize the presence you brought into their life, the loyalty, the support, the laughter, and all the countless moments they may have overlooked. And the power of this silence is that it often reveals to them what you always knew, that you brought something unique, something irreplaceable. By allowing this distance, you give them a chance to face the reality of life without you, to sit with the emptiness left in the wake of your absence. And for the first time, they may find themselves missing those things that they once took for granted. They may start to see you in a new light, to understand the respect and admiration you truly deserve. In this space you've created, you're not waiting for their reaction or their validation. Instead, you're focusing on your own growth, your own peace. You're using this time to rediscover the things that make you happy, the passions that fulfill you, and the dreams you may have set aside for them. And when they eventually look back, they'll see someone who didn't just survive without them, but someone who thrived. That's powerful. It's a testament to your resilience, your strength, and your commitment to self-respect. They may find themselves realizing just how valuable you were, how rare it is to find someone as genuine and caring as you. Ultimately, this silence becomes a mirror. They're left with a reflection of their own actions, their own choices. And in that silence, they're often met with regret. They start to question if they really made the right decision, if letting you go was a mistake. But by then, you'll have grown so much that their regret won't change your path. You'll have moved forward stronger with a deeper sense of self-worth. And they'll be left wondering what could have been, realizing that their loss was entirely their own making. When you step back, stay silent, and let them feel your absence, you're not only allowing them to regret losing you, but you're also teaching them a valuable lesson. People often take others for granted because they believe there will always be another chance, always another opportunity to make things right. But when you withdraw, you show them that you are not a permanent fixture in their life, that their actions have consequences. You're teaching them that if they don't value you in the present, they might lose you for good. This isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about setting boundaries and showing self-respect. You've given enough, and now it's time to take a step back for your own well-being. Sometimes it takes this distance for people to realize how much you truly meant to them. They may have gotten too comfortable in your presence, too accustomed to your support and understanding, but now they're faced with a gap where you used to be. It's uncomfortable for them, and that discomfort is what can trigger change. What happens next is up to them. They will either continue their behavior, thinking that they can always have access to you, or they will realize that they need to change. They may come back, not just with regret, but with a newfound appreciation for who you are and what you bring to their life. They ask for forgiveness, not because they fear losing you, but because they finally recognize your worth. But by the time that happens, you'll have grown in ways they might not even fully understand. You'll have learned to value yourself more than ever before, to see your own worth outside of someone else's approval or validation. The truth is, stepping back and staying silent is not just for them, it's for you. It's about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your sense of self. It's about knowing that your value isn't defined by someone's inability to appreciate you at the right time. It's about realizing that you deserve someone who recognizes your worth in the present, not just when you're no longer there. So don't be afraid to step back. Don't be afraid to let them experience your absence. You're not losing anything, they are. And when they come to realize it, they will truly regret losing you. But by then, you'll be too busy living your best life to even notice.